What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gridiron segment here on House Call Sports. My name is Sam, that is Rob, and that is Justin. And today we're going to be discussing the situation with Rashee Rice. We're going to be discussing the strange and slow downfall of the Buffalo Bills and which teams have the most pressure to succeed in the NFL draft. Before we get into all that, a quick word from our sponsor, Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats is the most trustworthy and easy to navigate ticketing website. They have a reliable and rewarding tickets and a 100% buyer guarantee. Your transaction will be safe and secure, and you will get full service customer care and be compensated for any canceled events. And it's got the only ticket rewards program around. All that means is that the WWE is at its hottest. You can go to those events. The MLB is just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. Go get your seats and use the link in the description to go sit vividly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a very slow, yet a very eventful offseason. But with the slow comes the small niches of entertainment, the good kind and the bad kind, specifically the bad kind in reference to Rashee Rice, who got into an incredible, I guess it was a car stacking situation. We'll just call it a series of very unfortunate events for Rashee Rice. And right now he's being represented by a lawyer, and his NFL future is already in jeopardy. Let's get this out of the way. This is a way too common trope in the NFL, specifically with the wide receivers. I don't understand what it is that they get off on just like not obeying the law, I guess. I don't know. There's obviously two sides to every story, but when the one side is so convicting, it's kind of hard to give Rashee Rice a pass. His lawyer ended up saying something very interesting, a very dangerous quote, in my opinion, and I'm paraphrasing when I say this, but he said, instead of judging what Rashee Rice did, we should study what Rashee Rice has done aside from that moment. To that, I say this. If we decided to overlook every person's crimes just because of all the good that they've done, quite frankly, we're letting them down, and we're letting society down as well. So as for Rashee Rice, whatever he has coming for him, he has it coming because they're a result of his actions, and they're consequences for his actions. This is very unfortunate, especially since Rashee Rice is coming off a relatively good season, a great start to his rookie career, already a Super Bowl champion, and was the wide receiver one on a championship team, a team that has now won back-to-back Super Bowl champions. With all this being said, you would think that Rashee Rice would remain smart, much like his peers. But that was not the case. And that to me is very frustrating, considering all the NFL wide receivers who have not made it yet and are doing everything by the book and yet are still not getting their shine. And unfortunately, they will never get their shine. While Rashee Rice got his shine already in the playoffs and is already putting it to waste. It really puts things into perspective that we really should be very grateful for where we are at and how we were raised. I'm not questioning how Rashee Rice was raised by any means at all. I'm pretty sure he has a great mother and father, and he was a great kid. But bottom line, he must have had some terrible influences doing the things that he did and putting lives on the line on that fateful day. Very unfortunate, but I'm going to go ahead and kick it to you, Justin. What are your thoughts on this entire Rashee Rice incident?
This is called being stupid. And that's just putting it plainly. Like, okay, this is why it's going to go as serious as it does. First off, you're dealing with the NFL. Roger Goodell does not play when it comes to situations like this. Two, we are not that far removed from the Henry Ruggs incident a couple of years ago. And it didn't raise to that point because nobody lost their life, thankfully, in this situation, but it could have easily went there. And three, this is another case of a young athlete, somebody who just came into new money, but is having the same old influences making their decisions for them. Another young, promising athlete who is continuing to possibly be hanging out with the wrong crowd, even though he was the one driving supposedly in this situation, and you continue to do dumb shit. And now you just really risked your career because Kansas City could easily say, you had a great rookie season, a good rookie season, but we don't need you after this. We don't need the bad publicity. And they could go win a Super Bowl without him. If they could win a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill, they could easily win one without Rashee Rice. And all Rice has basically done is put his own NFL career in jeopardy before it even really hit the ground. Yes, he had a good rookie year. Yes, he has a Super Bowl ring now. But what is that all worth? Rookie scale contracts ain't really cutting it out compared to what NFL contracts are worth. And because you decided to make one dumb move, one easily done move that you could have easily avoided, now you just put your entire livelihood in jeopardy. And not to mention possibly your freedom too, because this could have went either way. You are lucky that you just got out with a couple of cars being damaged. But that's why I'm going to leave it.
And my biggest thing with all this is it's the lack of remorse, because it looked like they were in a rush to just leave the situation. You hear from people that were a part of it, and thank God, minor injuries. It could have been a lot worse. And a sorry doesn't do it for me, because they were looking for you for days and you didn't turn up. So something was up. Like, at the end of the day, I've been preaching this for the longest time. Rookies need handlers. For at least their first contract, you need a handler. You need someone that's either Ubering you everywhere, because they're kids that are coming into new money and they don't know how to be adults yet. We all were there. We all make silly decisions. We all want to go fast. We all want to do things, but we don't have Lamborghini money. When you have Lamborghini money, you make Lamborghini mistakes. And at the end of the day, this is what happened. Thankfully, there's no people that died, but we can't just sweep it under the rug. There's going to be a maximum punishment. You cannot walk. That's a hit and run. And at the end of the day, especially, I mean, it could have been Henry Ruggs. Thank God it's not. But I don't know. Especially with a deep class like this at wide receiver, you just became even more expendable. I hate to say it. I hate to be like,
no, that's the truth though.
Emotionless about it. But at the end of the day, you are a good to great receiver. You could have been special, but how this class has been touted, you became even more expendable.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part, is that this could not have come at a worse time for Rashee Rice. And you want to talk about a fall from grace. I mean, he became a Super Bowl champion not even a couple of months ago, and now he's in the middle of a civil case that could get him. I don't know if he'll get necessarily jail time, but he's lucky if he doesn't. And quite frankly, I don't like hearing it could have been worse, because that just like bails that, like, that's a couple of I'll put it to you guys like this. If this was a Henry Ruggs situation, I guarantee you Rashee Rice would not be getting his lawyer out there to say what he said about him. I don't think that's the case. So Rashee Rice, straight up, you're absolutely right, Rob. He needs to get a handler. And now every wide receiver who is about to go into the NFL now has an example of what not to do in this situation. If you win a Super Bowl ring, you don't go on joyrides in a Lamborghini, causing a wreck and causing injuries, and it could have led to something even more dangerous. So I'll leave it at this. As an athlete, yes, you are an athlete. That doesn't give you the right to do whatever you want. And people like us, the common man, who are not millionaires, who are going day by day with their lives, don't get second chances at all. So the fact that Rashee Rice might get a second chance, while I believe that people do deserve second chances, there are some people that really should just not get any at all. And I hope Rashee Rice, when he gets his second chance, because he will get it, while I agree this is the NFL, I don't think he's going to be gone from the league at all.
I hope he is. I hope he is. You're gone for days. I'm sorry. It's not because it's the Chiefs. It's just that they were looking for you for days. If you had remorse as much as you say you do, you would show up. And I get that made me make me look bad, but at the end of the day, I
don't like the lawyer's stance on it at all. I don't know why the lawyer said what he said. You could say that about any good person that ended up breaking, and there's a comic.
All it takes is one moment.
I forget what issue.
One moment.
It's like one bad moment, one bad day to keep the sanest man alive from lunacy. Like that's not just a comic book quote. That is a real life. Like there are some people who are one day away from being like absolutely like it's over for them and they go crazy. Okay, Antonio Brown very recently was a very nice, open-hearted guy. One hit, and that was it. That was the last of the Antonio Brown that we know is gone. Now, I'm not going to compare Rashee Rice to Antonio Brown because Antonio Brown is just heartless. And, you know, he's not a person that you want to converse with. But these are the steps that it takes to turn into that. So, to Rashee Rice, I hope he learns from this situation. I hope if he does get a second chance, he gets the most from it. So, with that being said, I just hope everybody involved with it ended up being safe, is finally getting healed up, and hopefully we don't get a situation like this again for the foreseeable future. But the way things have been going, I mean, that's just an unlikely situation. Speaking of unlikely situations, Stephon Diggs getting traded to the Texans was definitely not on my bingo card, but it happened. So I guess the question I'll ask Rob, and I'll ask Rob first. The Buffalo Bills, they don't really have a wide receiver one. Granted, it's a great wide receiver class to really restart on, but what's the state of the Buffalo Bills right now? Where do you think they stand in the AFC right now?
Oh, they're screwed. They're screwed heavily because when they initially got Diggs, Josh Allen, I'm not going to say Josh Allen's going to be the same quarterback he was his first 2 years because that's not fair, because obviously you progress, you become a better player. However, if they hadn't made a historic run last year where they basically had to have the Miami Dolphins, I apologize, Sammy, basically collapse on themselves, they would never even been in the playoffs. And to replicate a Stephon Diggs in this class is just, it's not fair. It's not fair to whoever comes in. It's not fair to whatever. And people will like to highlight, oh, you got the Dalton Kincaids, or you still have Khalil Shakir and all that. Well, when you have Stephon Diggs taking away attention from you, you will look better. But who says that these guys do that? I've had converse with a lot of Bills fans that think just because the Diggs is gone, all of a sudden these guys are going to take on the load. I think that's not fair to even say, because that if anything, that's diminishing what Stephon Diggs brought to the franchise. It's like sweeping on the rug as if he wasn't a Pro Bowl player every season he was with you. So, yes, he's not the same player he was when you first got him, but to say that and to diminish what he brought to that team is it's kind of unfair. So for me, I think the collapse is very much in play. I think they basically had to reshape their whole roster. I get it was a lot of expendable contracts and a lot of guys that were getting older. However, that is a lot of leadership walking out the door. Stephon Diggs not being a part of that leadership, and I get it's maybe a locker room cancer, or maybe a Twitter, whatever you may call it, cancer. But at the end of the day, it's hard to replicate that type of production and that type of athlete. So I personally think they're in trouble. At best, I think they're going to finish third in the division. That may be crazy, but barring a Jets collapse and an Aaron Rodgers Achilles injury, they're in trouble, like serious trouble.
Yeah. I'm not going to go ahead and write the Bills off completely. Josh Allen has just done me so dirty so many times for me to really just like stop believing that he can't find a way. I will say this though, calling most of us crazy, including Rob and myself, when Stephon Diggs was clearly disgruntled and was clearly not happy, that ended up biting them in the ass pretty significantly, because Trayvon Diggs was saying what Stephon Diggs was thinking. And it was essentially that Josh Allen was not that good. And, you know, maybe that's true, maybe that's not true, but clearly the front office did not like the vibes they were getting from Stephon Diggs, because they shipped him off, and they shipped him off for a second-round pick of next year. So it's not like they valued him so much so that they were willing to get a draft pick from this year. No, they're like, let's take the second-round pick from next year, which a draft class that is not necessarily very good compared to this year's. The Bills are going to be a good team because they have Josh Allen. Here's the problem, though. They don't have any offensive mind that I trust for them to just rely on Josh Allen and be a contender, which is what they're trying to do. Josh Allen is a generational quarterback. There's no denying that. And he has talent that a lot of people would dream of having. But it's very apparent that he can't do it by himself, that Sean McDermott's coaching decisions have cost them, and the offensive play calling has always been very inconsistent come playoff time. And straight up, they don't make the plays when they need to make the plays. Now, Stephon Diggs has not helped this case at all by any means. And as a matter of fact, he's been the cause for a lot of the Bills' transgressions in the playoffs. But he definitely helped at being, at the very least, a decoy. Now you don't have that decoy, and it's going to be very hard for me to believe that a wide receiver that you're going to draft this year is going to be somebody that can replace Stephon Diggs like this, because it's no secret. I'll get into it later. This year, they're going to have to draft a wide receiver because their wide receiver core right now, aside from Curtis Samuel, is very barren. And you know, a lot of Bills fans wanted to tell me that Khalil Shakir was the truth. While Khalil Shakir was probably their best receiver at the back half of the season, I'm not going to rely on that, just that sample size, because that same sample size can be the same thing said about Gabe Davis. And I'm pretty sure most of them were very happy when Gabe Davis walked. So with that being said, the state of the Bills, I'll put it to you guys like this. They're going to be a good team because they have an elite quarterback and they have a defensive coach that will keep them in games. With that being said, the Super Bowl window is shut. And that division, just like last year, is wide open this year as well. So if I'm a Dolphins fan, if I'm a Jets fan, and if the Patriots somehow strike gold in the draft, if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm licking my chops and I'm rubbing my hands.
You got to look at what
this division's wide open.
They lost to Mac Jones last year. I don't care if the Patriots even have remotely a decent quarterback. 8-1. Listen, I don't want to toot my horn about my Patriots. 8-1 score games. 8-1 score games. You even have an average quarterback. They're in trouble. I'm being dead serious, especially in the draft. Like, I mean, I don't think we're going to do anything special. I'm just saying,
look, there are rumors also. There are also rumors that the Commanders want Jaden Daniels. If Drake May becomes a Patriot, that division becomes even more interesting. Because I am higher on Drake May, and a lot of people are higher on Drake May than they really are on Jaden Daniels. So maybe that's smoke, maybe that isn't smoke. We'll see. But Justin, I want to get your thoughts on the Buffalo Bills. What is the state of their franchise right now?
The exact same thing you said. The Super Bowl window is completely shut. Now, listen, I am not an expert on the AFC East. That's why I leave that up to y'all too, the Dolphins fan and the Patriots fan over here. But I am someone who likes to look in the books of NFL teams. And this is why I say that the window is closed. This is exactly what happens when you give a franchise quarterback money, a franchise pass rusher money, because they were backloading contracts because of the window they've had the last couple of years. Guess what? It's time to pay the piper at this point. This is the last year of the backload for Von Miller, who, guess what, has not really been playing for the Bills. He is due $15 million in total cap hit this year. Next year, it goes above 20 for somebody who has not been available. Their window is closed, not only for the fact of all these players that have been leaving, but it's because of the fact that they have no money to be paying players at this point. So now you are trying to make lemonade out of lemons that you already have on this team, and it's not going to work out, quite honestly. You let your top two receivers go. You let one of your top safeties go. You are pretty much thin on both sides of the ball at all. And this is coming from the New Yorker. I was hoping for the Bills to have a Super Bowl run because this was the only way a New York team was going to the Super Bowl. I don't trust the Jets. I obviously don't trust the Jets. I didn't trust them last year, and guess what? Their Super Bowl hopes went in only 4 plays. So, state of the Buffalo Bills, it's over. It's time to rebuild. You do have your franchise quarterback, which is amazing. and you really need to put pieces around them, but you really need to strip this team down and start over. And that's unfair for Josh Allen, but unfortunately, that is what is happening because the offensive-minded person that helped Josh Allen become the all-pro that he is my head coach. The person that did a great job helping build the Buffalo Bills is my general manager. So what do y'all have now at this point? You need to start over.
And even if you rebuild, Josh Allen's breaking down. His body, every time he takes a hit, and Tom Brady's been saying it to him over and over again because they're like close friends. Stop engaging the contact. We see the UCL injuries. I'm telling you right now, he's going to turn into Ben Roethlisberger. I'm calling it right now.
I can see that.
Well, granted, Ben Roethlisberger ended up had a pretty long career, and he started breaking down towards like the very, very end of his career.
They're similar play styles, man.
I hope that Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's also probably a better athlete than Ben. But another thing is that like Josh Allen, the hits he takes, they're not healthy. Like it's no secret. Like Tom Brady is close friends with him. I would hope that he takes his friend's advice and he tries to stay in the pocket and tries to slide a bit more often. But quite frankly, this is Josh Allen, and what Josh Allen does is kind of what makes Josh Allen. Now, about those receivers leaving, one was their decision, obviously Stephon Diggs being traded, and Gabe Davis they had kind of let happen because they brought in Curtis Samuel. Now, bringing in Curtis Samuel, I thought was an upgrade instead of Gabe Davis, and I was like, you know what? I was a little moved. I thought, you know what? This wide receiving duo of Stephon Diggs and Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir with Dalton Kincaid, that moved me. I was like, whoa, like this is a good team. Like if they keep and then Stephon Diggs got traded, and I'm like, that makes no sense because you got a receiver that you guys have been wanting, a secondary receiver that they've needed to really help out Stephon Diggs, and they ended up dealing Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans, who have to be top 3 in the AFC in terms of like favorites right now. So, look, we'll see what happens with Buffalo, but as all three of us are saying, Buffalo, it's Buffalo-ver, for all of you. I'm sorry, guys. With that being said, this is a big draft coming up for Buffalo, and it's a big draft for a lot of teams. So I thought I'd pull up the question in our very last segment today. Who has the most pressure to really hit on these draft picks? Justin, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. What team have you picked as the team that needs to really have a good draft this year?
Sam, you know I like breaking all of your rules, right? So I'm not going to give you one team. I'm going to give you a full division. The whole NFC needs to have a good draft this year. And I'm going to break down a reason for each of the 4 teams in order from who really doesn't need it as much to who desperately needs it. At the top of the list, Philadelphia Eagles. At most, they need to reload because they do need to replace some spots in the offensive line. They do have to fix that defensive backfield of them. If the Giants were able to torch them in the last week of the season, you know something's wrong. So they really need to retool and reload on both sides of the ball. They're the ones that have the least urgency in this. Second, I got the Washington Commanders. Why? First year under a new regime, new GM, new head coach, new ownership. It's time for them to start building the team the way they want to. They had a really good free agency. I will give them that credit. And now it's time to put the final stamp on it for their first offseason and get a good draft class going on there. And if they can do that, then they got a solid foundation for the next couple of years. Third is my New York Giants. And the reason my Giants need it is because this can potentially be the last draft in the Joe Schoen era if all of this goes wrong. Why? Because my ownership, Mara specifically, seems to have a tendency that he only gives you a 2 to 3 year window and then will try to let you go after that. While I'm of the notion that you need to have patience when you're rebuilding a full team, he doesn't seem to have that. But I digress. This is like a very important draft class for the Giants. They need to hit on this. And they have been hitting on some of their picks. Some of their picks have been really good for us. So I have faith in their draft strategies, but I don't have faith in ownership. That's why I think they need it. And in 4th place, the team that absolutely needs to have a good draft, is them Dallas Cowboys. And why? Because if you've never heard the term falling asleep at the wheel, just look at what the Dallas Cowboys did this offseason. Who did they pick up in free agency? Absolutely nobody.
A long snapper.
Their long snapper. They re-signed their long snapper.
Yeah.
Okay, they made an important move on the special team side, but they did absolutely nothing on either side of the ball. Not really. They have a receiver, their number one receiver, who's threatening to hold out now in CeeDee Lamb. You got a defense that is supposed to be like top 5 just based off the pass rush alone. They got absolutely cooked by Jordan Love and the Packers in the playoffs. You have a lot of thinking to do, especially coming in the future when you got to pay players like a Dak Prescott if you're choosing to keep him, like a Micah Parsons who's coming up, like a CeeDee Lamb. And you need receivers because didn't they just get rid of Michael Gallup too? You need a wide receiver.
Michael Gallup is not on that roster, I don't believe anymore. So
you need a wide out too, and even a 3.
It's a good year to get a wide out though. So I think Dallas can definitely have a solution there at the very least.
But they need to pull the trigger. Otherwise, guess what? They'll be in the market for a new head coach after this season because Jerry Jones looks like he's fed up.
I think it's fair to say that they should really I think they traded Amari Cooper for a first round pick. Wasn't Amari Cooper for that first round pick?
Yep.
They traded for Amari Cooper.
Yep.
I think that pick at some point was worth it. And they decided to not really keep those two together. And now I think it's kind of coming back to bite them because they really don't have any wide receiver help outside of CeeDee Lamb. Like CeeDee Lamb is good, and he's elite. He's top 3 in my opinion, but he's pretty much the only person there in that weapons room. And then now you decided to let Tyron Smith go. You let Tony Pollard go. What are we doing? What are we doing? So I agree with you. I think Dallas definitely needs to have a good draft this year. The thing is they're more of the flashy team. They are more of a flashy team. So I feel like they're going to get the pick that's the sexiest rather than the pick that like is the one that they need. I hope that's not the case because I think Dallas winning is good because when Dallas winning is good, it makes their downfall that much sweeter. So that's usually how things go. Kicking Dallas while they're down is literally just being mean. It's bullying. So I don't like bullying. I prey on downfalls, but I don't bully.
I had to sit through a 40-0 ass whooping. I'm going to kick them every time they are down.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I don't kick while teams are down. I really don't. You can ask Rob. I don't do that. I try to help them actually. I try to help them, get back on the right path as if I know what that's like. So it's really. With that being said, let me not get off topic. Rob, I'm going to go to you next. Who do you think needs to have a really good or has the most pressure to have a really good draft this year?
Well, so you don't kick teams when they're down, but I sure as hell do. And I'm gonna have to go with the Cowboys. And I really like. I could go and cop out and go for the Bills, but I'll spare them. I'll spare them and their jackass fucking fans. CeeDee Lamb is expected to hold out. That's one thing. He's expected to hold out, according to Dallas News, according to House Call Sports. Do you want to know what their free agents are next year? Dak Prescott, Brandon Cooks, Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, CeeDee Lamb, Brian Anger, Eric Kendricks, Jordan.
Wow.
The list goes on and on. It's literally just about half their fucking roster. So let's just be honest with it. Let's call a spade a spade. I can go and say, hey, listen, I could go point finger at the Bills having – they need to nail this draft, but at the end of the day, they can go trade for players, whatever. The Dallas Cowboys absolutely need to nail this draft, and they're kind of screwed on the whole CeeDee Lamb situation because he wants to get paid, and you ain't got. I don't know what the cap situation is, but can't be great.
I got you.
So they are kind of they're kind of in a predicament, and he is the type of person, I'm assuming, just like a Brandon Ayuk, that wants to get paid, and rightfully so because of how great of a talent he is. So did you get the number?
They are only having $6 million in cap space.
Yeah,
so
they're not going to be. They're not going to be.
They could make it.
They could, but they're going to have to let go of a lot. And CeeDee Lamb,
they can backload it. I hate backloading contracts. I believe that it shouldn't be a thing, but they can backload it because after this season, with everybody that's contracts expire, they will have $100 million in cap space projected.
But I will say this, based off, I can't remember where I heard of it. It might have been like a month or two ago. Jerry Jones devalued CeeDee Lamb a lot. I can't remember where I saw it. So
I don't get that at all.
So with that being said, I can't. They're in trouble.
I hope not. I hope that's not the case, because here's the reality: without CeeDee Lamb, I don't think that offense is as good as it is. They had no run game. And CeeDee Lamb was essentially that offense. He made everything in that offense look a lot better. Okay. Dak Prescott looked better. The numbers statistically looked better because of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had the second best receiving season in the league. He caught up to Tyreek Hill. He was close to beating Tyreek Hill. He wasn't that far off. Towards the end of the season, he was the best receiver in the league. So if that's true, which I really hope it's not, I think Jerry Jones would value a player who really made them that year, made that team exciting that year. I think that would be a very ludicrous way. But you guys decided not to pick the teams that I thought were relatively obvious. I'm going to go ahead and pick the obvious ones. I think the Buffalo Bills need to have a really good draft. I do, because you have a lot of you did a lot of backloading, and now it's time to really cook in your draft class because you decided to let go of Stephon Diggs. You don't really have receivers. You don't really have weapons. You don't really have a running back unless you think James White is going to be – not James White. Wow. I said James White. What's the kid's name? Oh, my goodness. James Cook. There you go. You have James Cook, and James Cook is good, but is he game-changing? Not really. Curtis Samuel is good. He's not game-changing. You don't have a game-changing receiver. Now, in a class that has a lot of game-changing receivers, potentially – You could definitely work your way around that, but it's more than that. It's the offensive line, it's the defensive side of the ball. It's a lot of things. What's up, Rob?
But have they shown the ability to draft a receiver? Because let's remember it, Stephon Diggs was an outside source.
Yeah,
they have not shown they have not shown the ability to be able to go and get a top flight wide receiver. So who says that Who says that it's just they're going to nail it? Just because there's great receivers in the draft. They can go get Tez Walker. I don't know.
Gabe Davis was a solid draft pick. I'd say Gabe Davis was pretty good. But aside from that, I think they let him walk, so it doesn't really matter. So regardless of that, the next team is, I think Rob will agree, the Patriots need to have a really good draft this year. Especially considering the fact that they decided to, Justin, you said fall asleep at the wheel. The Patriots decided to do that. I don't know if it was by design. I don't know if they just decided not to be flashy. But I will say that I think that the Patriots, they need to hit on their quarterback. Whatever receiver they get, they need to hit on that. Whatever kind of defensive piece that they bring in, they better fit that scheme. And straight up, most of the draft picks better be offensive, because you have essentially no offensive weapons, no real offensive line help, in my opinion, that will really like protect whatever quarterback you get. So I'll go ahead and put it like this. If the Patriots don't have a good draft, right, and the de facto, and you still don't have a GM, right, and Gerard Mayo is the head coach, and the season goes on and it's bad, Gerard Mayo is never going to get this ship right, because the ship's going to be wrecked. So this draft right here needs to be a really, really good draft and really set the tone for this next Patriots era post Bill Belichick. So to me, the players with the teams with the most pressure to really draft well, in my opinion, are the Buffalo Bills, and without question, the New England Patriots. It's really about them. Like, for the Bills, it's more about like getting back on track and becoming contenders again. For the Patriots, it's really riding a ship that was wrecked like this past offseason.
I will say this, though. According to PFF last year, with Trent Brown's lazy ass at left tackle, we were still the 13th overall in offensive line. So really we upgraded our offensive line even through the free agency. My biggest thing is that it's really just getting the quarterback. And then we'll be fine. We have $46 million in the tank, and I feel like that's just a coincidence that T. Higgins is still kind of in trade talk. So,
I think that's definitely a possibility.
And there's still rumors and reports out there that the Patriots are still looking for a wide receiver one. So I think they might double dip and get a T. Higgins and maybe get a guy in this draft. So they can flip the ship really quick, and that's why the Buffalo Bills nailing this draft is that much more
just as
better.
important.
Yeah, exactly, because this division is probably one of the best in the whole damn NFL.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's definitely up there. Of course, there are divisions like the AFC North that look like they're good. I mean, you got Joe Burrow starting to wrap it right back up. Lamar Jackson's probably looking for revenge as well. Hey, maybe the AFC West finally becomes what they were supposed to be a couple of years ago, and the Raiders are good, and the Chargers end up being good. Who knows? Regardless of that, look, it's going to be a very entertaining draft season. We are going to be live that night. House Call Sports on Instagram is going to be live, so I can't wait to. You're going to see me there. I'm going to be there with Rob. It's going to be very, very exciting. We'll see how the Patriots do on that draft night. I definitely think there's going to be a lot of mixed emotions that night with whoever gets picked. Someone's going to reach. It's just going to happen. Some crazy stuff is going to happen towards the end of the draft, the whole draft season. So with that being said, we thank you so much for joining us here on the Gridiron segment here on House Call Sports. I am Sam. That was Justin. That was Rob. Thank you so much. Love you guys. And we'll see you guys next time.